everyone, this is Smara. Today I'll show you what are functions and why we need them. First let's turn on Python. Now in the previous video we showed you how you can repeat the same line of code over and over and over again. But what if you wanted to do the same but slightly different? Instead of repeating the same line of code over and over again in the same location, what if you wanted to access that line of code or several lines of codes in different parts of the program, that too at any time? That is a job for a function. What's a function? A function is a kind of block of code that stores some code in which when you call that function, the code that you have set it to will be run. Let's start with an example. To write a function, you start with a keyword called def. This is what you use to define a function. After you enter the keyword, press a space and then the function name. I'll set it to multiplication. And then after the function name, you should enter round brackets, both opening and closing. Then after that, you enter a colon. Then just press enter. Python is indented for us. Now if you look, you may notice this looks almost the same as an if or elif statement. But the difference here is that this is not an if or elif, and that this is not a condition. This is a definition. That is, you're trying to set something to something else. This is an assignment, like name equal to Smaran. You're trying to set something to something else. We're doing the exact same thing here, except that this is with a function and with multiple lines of code. Now that I entered my function definition statement, now comes the code. This is multiplication. But what should I multiply? In these cases, you need to pass arguments. What's an argument? An argument is a kind of input that you give to the function so that the function can then take that, use it, and then return the output. So here, I'll set it to multiply two numbers, A and B. You notice to set multiple arguments, I put the first argument followed by a comma and a space optional, and then the next argument and repeat it. Now inside the function, I want to return A and B. How can I do that? I can use the print statement, and inside that I'm going to print A into B. One note is that the multiplication symbol is the star, the asterisk. Now let's save it. And let's run it. We didn't get anything. Why is that? Well, the problem here was that when we made the function, we have not called it. Because of that, it didn't do anything. It just defined the function and left it. So to use it, we have to call it. Uh-oh, we got an error, a trace back. Look what I didn't put. In multiplication, the function requires two arguments, A and B. But we haven't entered it, we just left it empty. So we need two arguments. So I'll pass to 10, 20, for example. 200. That is the same as 10, 20. But for functions, you don't use the print statement. in most cases you don't require any at all. But then how can we get the output? For functions, we have a keyword called return. The return keyword takes whatever comes after it and sends it back to the idle, the shell. Notice that this return key doesn't have anything else. No brackets, no nothing. It's just the keyword followed by a space followed by whatever you return. Of course, you can put it in round brackets, but because this is only one thing, we can just leave it. Oh, we got nothing. Why is that? Well, I passed the arguments, but why didn't we get anything? This is because the return function does not print anything, but that it returns it. Returning is different from printing, which is why if you want to get a value, we have to use the function inside a print. There we go. Now, why do we need this return function? Why can't we just use a print? Well, in some cases, maybe we want to store the value that we get from this multiplication. For example, you may see that it did nothing, but it actually did something. After it ran the function with the arguments 10 and 20 and got the value 200 from this return statement, it set 200 to the variable product. And we can use that variable, for example, in a print statement. So you see that? In some cases, we do require a print statement in case something we don't either need to return or it is something that we can't return. So this simple thing doesn't seem to be in a necessity of a function because it's just one thing. I mean, you could directly set it like this. So why need this function? Well, it's not a line, but we can put several lines of code. Let's say someone asks you to put, instead of 1 or 2 lines, 50 lines of code, and you need it 3 times in 3 different locations in this program. Instead of like typing the whole thing again and again, or just copy pasting it, you can use a function and write it only one time. But because it was set in a function, just call the function name with the proper arguments, if any, over and over and over. Well, it's better than calling the whole line of code. So let's see an example. Let's create a function that takes the absolute value of a number, a. Now in Python, we actually have this function. It's called abs, but let's pretend it doesn't exist. What would we do? We would start with the define keyword followed by a function name. Let's keep it absolute underscore value. Now why did I keep underscore instead of space? If I didn't keep a space, if I didn't keep an underscore and instead kept a space, you see that? It didn't get highlighted along with the name absolute, which is why it's necessary to put some kind of connection, either having nothing, a hyphen, or a underscore. Now after the function name, let's keep the brackets, and inside that let's call an argument a colon, enter. Now to get an absolute value of something, we know that the absolute value of something is just the positive version of that number. So for example, if we have -2, the absolute value of that number is 2. and same for just 2. So in this case, how can we tell it? We have two methods: to use an if statement to check whether a is less than 0, and if so, return negative a, or we can just do it like this. Take the square of a and then square root it. See that? Now what is this double asterisk? We know a single one just multiplies numbers. Then what does a double asterisk do? A double asterisk multiplies that number by itself the given number of times. That means in this case it squares it. And this 0.5, it square roots it. Now let's run this function. Let's set it to 2. Uh-oh, we didn't get anything. Why was that? We returned a value instead of printing it. So we have to use the print function along with the function. We got 2.0. Why 2.0? Because squaring and square rooting it returns a float. Now instead of passing 2, let's pass negative 2. You see that? We still got 2. So this is a function to take the absolute value of a number by taking that number, squaring it, and then square rooting it and returning the final output. So functions are really useful if you want to store multiple values or lines of code and you want to access them later without actually writing the whole thing again or copy pasting it. So thank you for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.